spot at the end of the voting period. Like in previous elections, SECA called for calm and urged candidates not to see elections as a system that divides the people. Elections come and go, but the people remain, the IEC returning officer told candidates.
It becomes your responsibility, because as the IEC, we will do everything humanly possible to make it a free, transparent election for everybody.
After the nominations, Grts spoke to the candidates about their take on elections and the task of maintaining the bond that binds the community, even after the elections.
This is not the first time I have been contesting. And the first time, even the first time I contested, there was no problem between me and the opposition. I always term them as friends. I always say that we have the same aim, that is to develop here. If I have the seat, I will develop here. If you have, you will develop the same too. So that is why I don't want to have problem with anybody. And I will talk to my people so that it is not me, but those people supporting you. Most of the time, they are the ones who cause problem. But I will talk to them so that we maintain peace. We all know that it's Kiang and Kiang for one order, for all of us.
Pature Bajinka, on the other hand, spoke about the extending olive branch to his constituents if he wins Thursday's vote.
My plans are just to bring peace and unity in Kiang and development.
Voting is expected to start by 7 in the morning and close by 4 p.m. according to the IEC. Candidates are also expected to identify agents to monitor the process. Ibrahim Balde, Grts News.
We will be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break.
Vote for your contestant of the Miss 22nd July Scholarship Pageant 2013. Send the number of the contestant to 7101 using your APSA line. The more you vote, the more your contestant stands to win as the Queen on the 7th of December 2013 at the Penchimi Hall Paradise Suites Hotel.
Welcome back. The United Nations Intervention Force in the Democratic Republic of Congo has resorted to the use of unarmed drones to further entrench peace in that war-ravaged country. The UN recently unveiled its pilot drone program in the eastern city of Goma. The drones, as we hear in this CFI report, will be used to monitor rebel activity along DRC's forested borders with Rwanda and Uganda.
First pilotless aircraft to be used by a United Nations intervention force in any country. The unarmed surveillance drone was presented to the media and diplomats Tuesday in Goma in North Kivu. The United Nations in DR Congo will be using these drones against armed groups.
The United Nations have entered the 21st century from the technological point of view. This is something we never had, but this is now in use in many armies in the world, in many organizations. I think we had to get it, to allow our people to do an even better job.
The 5-meter-long surveillance drone will be used in observation missions of armed groups that are still active in eastern Congo, even after the defeat of the M23 rebel group. They will be used on the Rwandan and Ugandan borders. Both countries are accused of backing armed groups in Congo, but local observers are skeptical about their use.
Who's controlling these drones? It's not the Congolese, it's individuals like you and me who can trick public opinion. They can be corrupted by Rwanda or Uganda. They can give false reports. We need a Congolese army to clean up the situation over there.
5 surveillance drones will be used by UN forces in Congo. If they are shown to be efficient, they could be then deployed in Côte d'Ivoire and South Sudan.
Embattled Ukrainian Prime Minister is seeking to pacify demonstrators angered by his decision to reject his country's proposed deal with the European Union by sending a team of negotiators to Brussels, but not without urging the opposition to stop fueling the simmering political crisis. And the widow of the former Palestinian leader, Suha Arafat, has expressed her disappointment at the contradictory reports issued by EU experts investigating her husband's alleged poisoning. For more stories and others, we go with this roundup of news.
Yasser Arafat is upset at the contradictory conclusions of European experts investigating the cause of death of her late husband. French experts have ruled out the theory that he had been assassinated. The conclusions of French experts contradict the findings of an earlier investigation by Swiss scientists who found exceptionally high levels of polonium poison. Yasser Arafat led the Palestinian Liberation Organization for 35 years. In Thailand, protesters and police are expecting a temporary truce as Thailand prepares to mark the king's 86th birthday. The only big protest was held at the National Police headquarters in Bangkok. The opposition is campaigning to overthrow Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, who is accused of being under the direct influence of her billionaire brother, who's living in self-imposed exile. The Prime Minister of Ukraine, Mykola Azarov, warned the opposition to stop escalating the country's political crisis as his government is sending a delegation to Brussels to negotiate on the deal that Ukraine refused to sign with the European Union. The government managed to bypass opposition blockades to hold a cabinet meeting. Brazil's 2014 World Cup competition has an official football called Brazuca. The ball has 6 interlocking panels and has a swirling multicolour design that is meant to evoke traditional Brazilian wish bracelets. 600 footballers and 30 teams around the world tested Brazuca, which will kick off for the first time on the 12th of June in Sao Paulo.
It's been 2.5 years since the tsunami that caused reactors at Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant to melt down. And today, experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency said Japan is making progress on decommissioning the plant. But the UN team said the situation there remains extremely complex. CNN's Anna Karin was given access to a reactor building and she tells us more.
At Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster. It was in here where there was that massive hydrogen explosion that severely damaged the building. But this was the least damaged of the 4 reactors because it was under maintenance and it wasn't actually operating. Well, now, 2.5 years later, TEPCO says it's reached a milestone. That massive crane behind me is successfully moving 1,500 fuel rods in that cooling pool to a storage pool next door. Well, it's a slow and delicate process that will take about a year, but once finished, it will mean that this reactor can be decommissioned. Well, attention will then turn to reactors 1, 2 and 3 that suffered far worse damage. The situation there is serious and levels of radiation are dangerously high. Well, workers have begun removing debris, but the cleanup inside the reactors is a long way off. Officials here say the entire plant won't be decommissioned for at least 40 years. Well, as for the future of nuclear power in Japan, no one really knows. More than 50 reactors have been shut down, with the public very concerned about their health and safety. But Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is pushing to reopen them, believing that Japan can have a safe nuclear future. Anna Koren, CNN, Fukushima, Japan.
We now take a second break. We'll be right back. And before we go, a recap of our headline-making stories. President Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh has assigned Honorable Mamadou Sabali the portfolio of Minister responsible for the civil service alongside his current portfolio. The head of state has